October 12, 2000, Port of Aden, Yemen, 11:15 in the morning, local time. The American destroyer USS Cole sits anchored for a routine refueling stop when lookouts spot a small boat approaching from portside. The crew assumes it's just another garbage collection boat. They couldn't be more wrong. The vessel carries 450 kilograms of explosives. At 12:15, two Al-Qaeda terrorists wave friendly gestures at the American crew. Seconds later, a massive explosion rips through the destroyer's hull. A 40 by 40-foot hole tears open near the waterline. 17 sailors die instantly. 39 are wounded. The damage totals $250 million. But this tragedy would reveal something that would forever change naval warfare. The deadliest threats on modern seas don't come from supersonic missiles or nuclear submarines. They come from small boats packed with explosives, pirates armed with assault rifles, and now, maritime drones that can be controlled from thousands of miles away. When conventional long-range weapons prove useless and anti-aircraft systems can't aim downward, only one defense remains. A 25mm automatic cannon capable of turning any surface threat into smoking scrap in seconds. Its name, Mark 38. And what you're about to discover about this weapon will blow your mind. In 1977, the U.S. Navy's Chief of Naval Operations faced a critical problem. The 20mm Oerlikon guns defending their ships had become obsolete. They generated enormous expenses with constant repairs and used ammunition that was no longer NATO standard. They needed an urgent solution, but nobody imagined the answer would come from the aerospace industry. Hughes helicopters had developed something revolutionary, the 25mm M242 Bushmaster chain gun. This system used an electric motor to power every process: loading, firing, and shell ejection. Unlike conventional gas-operated systems, the Bushmaster maintained constant velocity regardless of environmental conditions. It was American military engineering at its finest. In 1986, the Mark 38 Mod 0 was officially born. Its first version used the Mark 88 manual mount, which required a gunner to physically operate the turret while the ship rocked in rough seas. Accuracy was limited, but the destructive power was undeniable. The system entered mass service in 1988 as Mod 1. Between 1986 and 1992, the U.S. Navy invested a fortune in 243 Mark 38 systems. Its baptism by fire came during the Gulf War, in Operations Desert Shield and Desert Storm, where it demonstrated lethality that surprised even its creators. But what happened next in Persian Gulf waters would reveal why this cannon would become the terror of pirates and terrorists worldwide. In 1988, long before the Cole attack, a group of small Iranian boats attacked the American cruiser USS Vincennes in the Persian Gulf. The Iranian Boghammer speedboats, armed with heavy machine guns and rocket-propelled grenades, represented exactly the type of threat the Mark 38 had been designed for. American gunners opened fire with their 25mm systems, turning the threats into floating debris in less than 2 minutes. This action revealed both the potential and limitations of the system. Manual accuracy under enemy fire was problematic. Gunners had to expose themselves on deck to operate the turrets. And when the Cole tragedy struck, it became clear that the Mark 38 needed to evolve or die. The USS Cole attack wasn't an isolated event, but the culmination of a carefully planned terrorist campaign. Just months earlier, in January 2000, Al-Qaeda had attempted a similar attack against the destroyer USS the Sullivans in the same port of Aden. That time, the explosives-laden boat sank from being overloaded before reaching its target. The terrorists recovered the vessel, repaired the explosives, and patiently waited for the next opportunity. What the Cole crew didn't know was that they had been watched for days. The terrorists knew exactly when the destroyer would arrive, how long it would stay in port, and which was the most vulnerable point on the hull. Abd al-Rahim al-Nashiri, the mastermind behind the attack, had meticulously studied U.S. Navy procedures. In the USS Cole's command center, operators detected the terrorist boat approaching, but faced a lethal paradox. They had the firepower to sink a battleship, but didn't possess the right weapon to neutralize a threat 100 meters away. Their Tomahawk missiles were useless, their 5-inch gun was too slow, and their Mark 38 Mod 1 required a gunner to go on deck and expose himself to enemy fire. But here's the detail that changed everything. If that same ship had been equipped with technology that would be developed just 3 years later, the 17 sailors who died that day would be alive today. In 2003, the Chief of Naval Operations ordered development of the Mark 38 Mod 2, a system that would represent a quantum leap in lethal capability. The new philosophy was simple but revolutionary. The operator must remain completely protected while controlling destruction at a distance. The key was the alliance with Israel. Rafael Advanced Defense Systems had developed the Typhoon Mount, a stabilized remote system that had proven its effectiveness in Mediterranean waters against terrorist threats. American engineers took this technology and perfected it to create something completely new. The Mark 38 Mod 2 incorporated bidirectional stabilization that automatically compensated for the ship's rolling and pitching. Tests showed it tripled the accuracy compared to manual versions. For the first time in naval history, an operator could sit comfortably in the Combat Information Center, sipping coffee, while directing lethal fire against multiple simultaneous threats. The Top-Light 3 electro-optical system included a 640 by 480 pixel thermal camera that could detect a man's body heat at 2 kilometers away. The low-light television camera functioned in conditions where the human eye could distinguish nothing. And the eye-safe laser rangefinder provided exact distances for each shot. United Defense received a $395.5 million contract to produce the Mod 2. But what nobody anticipated was how this system would completely transform the war against modern piracy. And while the U.S. Navy was perfecting its new weapon, on the other side of the world, a threat was brewing that would test every technological innovation of the Mark 38. Off the coast of Somalia, the absence of effective government had created the perfect breeding ground for modern piracy. Local fishermen, deprived of their livelihood by foreign fishing fleets, had organized into increasingly sophisticated armed groups. By 2005, these groups had evolved from simple bandits to criminal organizations, with capabilities rivaling regular naval forces. The pirate operational profile had become standardized. A large diesel mothership towed 2 or 3 gasoline speedboats armed with heavy machine guns, rocket-propelled grenades, and Kalashnikov assault rifles. The pirates had studied commercial routes, identified merchant vessel vulnerabilities, and developed specific tactics for each type of prey. But they gravely underestimated what awaited them when they decided to confront warships equipped with Mark 38 Mod 2. On March 18, 2006, the destroyer USS Gonzales detected the classic pirate profile 25 nautical miles off the Somali coast, a diesel boat towing 2 fast attack craft. The cruiser USS Cape St. George was approaching from 40 miles away when both ships sent boarding teams in rigid, inflatable boats. The pirates made a fatal mistake. They opened fire first. Rocket-propelled grenades whistled over the heads of American sailors. Kalashnikov bursts splashed the water around the assault boats, but the pirates hadn't counted on the response about to be unleashed. The Mark 38 operator on USS Gonzales, sitting comfortably in the Combat Information Center, watched the scene through his thermal camera. With surgical calm, he selected .50 caliber tracer ammunition on his console. The fire control system automatically calculated the ballistic solution. And then, with a simple touch on his touchscreen, he unleashed hell. The first burst was a demonstration of absolute precision. The tracer rounds lit up the morning sky like red laser beams heading toward their target. The impact was surgical. A single tracer bullet pierced a 208-liter fuel barrel on the main pirate boat. The explosion was instantaneous. An orange fireball rose 30 meters above the water. The vessel disintegrated into smoking fragments. The sound of the blast could be heard for miles. In less than 10 seconds, the main threat had been eliminated. The occupants of the two remaining boats, witnesses to their mothership's destruction, immediately surrendered upon seeing USS Cape St. George approaching. At least one pirate had died in the explosion. 12 were captured, including 5 wounded who received medical attention aboard the American ships. But this action was just the prelude to what was coming in the world's most dangerous waters. Somali pirates had reached their peak between 2005 and 2012, hijacking more than 200 ships and obtaining ransoms worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Their operations had become sophisticated to military levels. They employed intelligence teams to track target vessels, flotillas of speedboats for coordinated attacks, and fortified land bases to hold hostages for months. In January 2012, the destroyer USS Kidd detected a pirate operation in progress near the Iranian fishing vessel Al-Molai. Pirates had hijacked the vessel and were using it as a mother platform for operations throughout the Persian Gulf. When the fishing boat's captain managed to send a distress call, the Kidd responded immediately. The American boarding team found a scene that revealed the brutality of the modern pirate business. 15 Somali hijackers had held 13 Iranian crew members hostage for several weeks. The sailors were malnourished. Some showed signs of torture, and all exhibited the psychological trauma of months in captivity. But the most dramatic case of Mark 38 effectiveness against pirates came during Operation Gulf of Aden Dawn in January 2011. The South Korean chemical tanker Samho Jewelry was sailing from the United Arab Emirates to Sri Lanka when it was attacked by Somali pirates 350 nautical miles from the port of Muscat, Oman. The pirates took the ship toward Somali waters and demanded $1 million ransom for the 21 crew members, 8 South Koreans, 11 Burmese, and 2 Indonesians. South Korea's response was decisive. President Lee Myung-bak ordered the destroyer ROKS Choi-young to rescue the ship by force. Aboard the destroyer traveled 30 commandos from the South Korean Navy's Special Warfare Flotilla, equipped with speedboats and a Super Lynx helicopter. For several days, the Choi-young followed the hijacked tanker while developing a rescue plan. On January 21st, at 4:58 in the morning local time, the most audacious operation against pirates in modern history began. While naval commandos approached the tanker in 3 speedboats, the destroyer's Super Lynx helicopter opened fire on pirate positions with unguided rockets and machine guns. The pirates, armed with AK-47 assault rifles and rocket-propelled grenades, initiated a firefight that spread throughout the ship. The confrontation was brutal but brief. The South Korean commandos, trained specifically for maritime counter-terrorist operations, systematically neutralized each pirate position. When the action ended, 8 pirates were dead and 5 were captured. The tanker's captain was wounded by gunfire but survived. The operation sent a clear message to Somali pirates. The days of impunity were over, but maritime threats were about to evolve into something completely new. And while the world's navies celebrated their victories against traditional piracy, a silent threat was developing in laboratories and workshops around the globe: autonomous maritime drones. In Ukrainian seas, small unmanned surface vehicles have rewritten the rules of naval warfare. These maritime drones, controlled via satellite from thousands of kilometers away, carry warheads up to 200 kilograms and reach speeds exceeding 80 kilometers per hour. Their low profile makes them nearly undetectable to conventional radars, and their production cost allows deployment in massive swarms. In May 2024, a Ukrainian maritime drone made history by shooting down a Russian Su-30 flanker fighter, becoming the first unmanned naval vehicle to down a combat aircraft. The drone, equipped with electro-optical sensors and an improvised weapon system, detected the fighter attempting to intercept it and managed to hit it when the aircraft was flying at low altitude. In the Red Sea, Yemeni Houthi rebels have demonstrated even more sophisticated capabilities. Their coordinated swarms include up to 28 aerial drones simultaneously, complemented by explosives-laden maritime drones that can saturate any naval fleet's defenses. On June 12, 2024, the cargo ship MV Tudor became victim to this new form of warfare. A Houthi maritime drone loaded with explosives struck the ship's hull, causing massive structural damage that led to its sinking. U.S. Navy helicopters rescued 24 civilian sailors, while the ship became a floating tomb. These events forced a complete reassessment of modern maritime threats and accelerated development of the next generation Mark 38. In 2019, recognizing that future threats required futuristic solutions, the U.S. Navy initiated the Maritime Accelerated Acquisition Program to develop the Mark 38 Mod 4. This system represents the definitive evolution of the concept. Designed specifically to confront unmanned aerial systems, high-speed unmanned surface vehicles, and threats we haven't yet imagined. The most radical change was abandoning the 25mm M242 cannon in favor of the 30mm Mark 44 Bushmaster II. This new cannon, manufactured by Northrop Grumman, shares 70% of the logistical parts with the M242, while increasing firepower by up to 50%. The Mod 4 ammunition includes 30mm projectiles originally designed for the GAU-8 cannon of the A-10 Thunderbolt attack aircraft. The APFSDST armor-piercing rounds can penetrate armor that would easily stop 25mm ammunition. The 30mm HEI rounds generate lethal fragmentation over a much larger radius, ideal for neutralizing drone swarms. The system incorporates the Seahawk DS-30MA2 mount from MSI Defense Systems, which provides improved stabilization and simultaneous multiple target tracking capability. The Fire Director integrates completely with the AEGIS combat system, allowing automatic engagement of threats identified by sensors distributed throughout the fleet. In April 2024, the destroyer USS Mustin DDG-89 made history by becoming the first American warship equipped with the Mark 38 Mod 4. Initial Pacific tests demonstrated capabilities that exceeded all expectations. The system neutralized aerial drones at distances exceeding 4 kilometers and destroyed simulated surface targets with millimetric precision. But the true measure of the Mark 38 isn't found in technical specifications, but in the stories of the men and women who operated under real fire. Petty Officer 2nd Class Marcus Chen had completed just 6 months of Mark 38 training when his destroyer was deployed to the Persian Gulf in 2019. During a night patrol near the Strait of Hormuz, the sensor system detected 3 speedboats approaching from Iranian waters at high speed. Chen remembers that moment. It was 2 in the morning. The boats appeared on my screen as red dots moving at 40 knots toward us. The watch officer ordered me to prepare for lethal engagement. My hands shook when I selected HEI ammunition on my console, but the system was so stabilized that my nerves didn't affect accuracy. The Iranian vessels approached to warning distance before turning sharply and withdrawing. Chen never had to open fire, but the experience taught him a fundamental lesson. The Mark 38 isn't just a weapon. It's the confidence of knowing that, no matter what's approaching your ship, you have the power to stop it. This confidence is based on decades of operational refinement. Sailors learn to identify threats in fractions of a second and maintain calm under the most intense enemy fire. 2 crew members can replace the complete Bushmaster cannon in 5 minutes during combat, and with an availability rate of 99.9%, the weapon is ready when death comes knocking. Globally, the Mark 38 equips fleets from more than 20 nations on 6 continents. Spain uses it in the Strait of Gibraltar against drug traffickers. Singapore protects the world's busiest commercial routes. The Philippines defends its archipelago against Abu Sayyaf terrorists. Each installation has adapted the system to specific local threats, from drug smugglers to modern pirates. But while the Mark 38 has proven its worth against traditional threats, future challenges require constant evolution. Autonomous drone swarms represent perhaps the most complex threat to modern naval defenses. A single attacker can deploy hundreds of small drones from distances exceeding 100 kilometers, each programmed to attack specific vulnerable points on the target ship. Artificial intelligence algorithms allow these drones to evade electronic countermeasures, adapt their attack routes in real time, and coordinate their impacts for maximum effect. Programmable ammunition represents the next evolution of the Mark 38. These projectiles can detonate at specific distances, creating fragmentation barriers that neutralize multiple drones simultaneously. Proximity sensors detect targets and adjust detonation timing for maximum lethality. Artificial intelligence algorithms integrated into each projectile can identify and prioritize threats autonomously. Directed energy systems will complement the Mark 38's kinetic weapons. High-energy lasers can neutralize drones without consuming physical ammunition, while high-power microwave weapons can disable enemy electronic systems at considerable distances. Integration of these technologies will create multi-layer defense systems capable of confronting any conceivable threat. Maritime cyber warfare adds another dimension of complexity. Adversaries might attempt to hack Mark 38 control systems, compromise their sensors, or manipulate their target identification algorithms. Countermeasures include segregated system architectures, quantum encryption, and backup manual operation protocols that guarantee functionality even under massive cyber attack. But perhaps the most intriguing development is integrating the Mark 38 with distributed sensor networks extending hundreds of kilometers. Satellites, aerial drones, sensor buoys, and allied ships can provide real-time target data, allowing a single Mark 38 to engage threats that haven't yet appeared on the horizon. And here we reach the moment that defines everything. When the sirens sound, when screens fill with hostile contacts, when seconds determine the difference between victory and defeat, there's only one absolute certainty. After 4 decades of relentless evolution, thousands of hours of real combat, and countless lives saved, the Mark 38 has proven to be much more than a naval weapon. It's the physical embodiment of American determination to protect those who sail under its flag. When Al-Qaeda's suicide boats appeared, the Mark 38 responded with stabilized precision. When Somali pirates emerged with their flotillas of death, it responded with devastating ammunition that turned threats into vapor. When future maritime drones emerged, it responded by evolving into the Mod 4 with firepower that redefines naval lethality. In the world's most treacherous seas, where every wave can hide a mortal threat, where enemies armed to the teeth seek to exploit any moment of vulnerability, where the most advanced technology confronts the most primitive human determination, only one immutable law exists. Whoever controls the Mark 38 controls the fate of everyone aboard. Because in the ruthless theater of modern naval warfare, where there are no second chances or participation medals, survival belongs exclusively to whoever shoots first, shoots true, and shoots with the lethal fury of the Mark 38. Subscribe if you want to discover the real weapons that dominate the world's oceans.